Yeah, my network is back on.
Should I please
Have
point in
you
my
seen it?
WhatsApp if
Just
possible?
make sure before we go live. I shared it to your WhatsApp. I also shared it to your WhatsApp, Dayo.
Okay.
Just
I
in
wasn't
case
looking
the
at my
email
phone.
does not
Sorry.
reach you.
I was trying to stay away from it. So.
Okay.
Um.
I don't think it has delivered to you, Dewunmi.
Yeah, I have got it.
I think it's a network thing.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm going to forward it to Dewunmi. Dewunmi, I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
All right, got it.
I think I shared her. So, okay. So I think we are ready to roll now.
I'm ready.
Wow, I hadn't seen this when we had the chat, Dayo, but wow,
Yeah, they ain't messing around.
it actually fits some like the topics we covered. All right, we move.
Don't worry, we'll be good.
Okay, so we are good to go. So yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tidalo, and welcome to the Spark Ignite series. The Ignite series is a weekly capacity building virtual live conversation where industry leaders come together to bridge knowledge that by providing entrepreneurs with good resources they need to thrive in their business. Now, if you're just joining us for the first time, right? Welcome. We are the Spark. We are a social enterprise dedicated to, providing entrepreneurs, small and growing businesses, innovators, change makers, and go-getters like yourself with resources you need to start, sustain, and scale your business. So today is the third session of the June edition of the Spark Ignite series, Harnessing Value from Assets. We've talked about compliance checklists for startups. We've talked about how you can create a culture of ownership and accountability in business. And today we're going to be talking about a very important subject, managing strategic partnerships. Now we have two esteemed guests in our midst today to, share their wealth of experience with us. We have Dewunmi Alugbin. She is a strategic partnership specialist and a sustainable development champion, passionate about entrepreneurship, innovation, and the economic development of Africa. She currently heads the Tony Elumelu Foundation. Welcome to the Spark Ignite series.
Not quite, not quite.
Oh, right.
Hi, thank you. I'm currently managing partnerships at the Tony Elumelu Foundation.
I omitted that. So
it's okay. Don't worry. But yes.
Future job.
Yeah. So
future job.
Yeah. It's a big job. It's a huge job. Not my job, but it's a big job.
He had partnerships at Tony Elumelu Foundation. So that makes her one of the best persons to speak on this particular subject. We also have, another distinguished guest in our midst. We have Dayo Okusami. He is a highly respected and, recognized lawyer in the energy and project space in the Nigerian market, and he has gone on to build a stellar reputation as one of Nigeria's leading oil and gas lawyers. He is currently a partner at Templars, among other things. Welcome to the Spark Ignite series, Dayo. Glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Right. We are glad to have you both on board this session today. So, as the topic says, we're going to be talking about, managing strategic partnerships. And, it's really important because we've been able to take, our audience, everybody in our community on a journey so far. Last month, we had a conversation centered around building to last, how you can lay a very strong foundation for your business. And now this month, we are talking about how you can harness the most value from the assets you have. So yes, you've done all you need to do to set up your business. Now you're at this stage where you need to sustain that business. And most times, corporations, organizations in emerging markets, they start, experiencing multifaceted development changes, challenges, sorry. And, you find that sometimes they can't really rely on their own strength and they need to set up certain partnerships, build and maintain relationship with, other organizations for them to thrive. So, and that is why we think this is a very important discussion to have today. So I'm going to leave both of you to, share your insights with us, and I'm going to come back after the conversation.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave it to Alugbin.
Thank you, Chidalu, for the introduction. I will just say, Chidalu, before you sign out, me and Dewunmi, we will be talking. I just wanted to let any of the audience know that if they had any questions, they can put it in, and you had agreed that you put them to us. I'd say maybe we'll let you know if any questions have come in, but we'll start the conversation, break it out to see if anyone has any questions and take it from there if that works for you. And I'm going to assume that is a yes. Okay. Right. Dewunmi, yes. So, good to see you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chidalu.
Yeah, I just wanted to, let everyone know you can always leave your comments wherever you're watching from. So if you're watching from our Instagram Live, just drop your comments there. And if you are on Facebook or YouTube, you can always drop your comments that we'll be watching, and then we'll forward them to the Dayo. All right. Over to you now.
Okay. Good evening, Dewunmi. Good seeing you again. Good to have you formally here. Although for those in the audience, me and Dewunmi have known each other for a few years now. Good seeing you again. Is there a lag?
There was some feedback. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
There was a bit of an echo.
Yeah, but it's gone now. I think Chidalu wasn't muted. So anyway, why don't we get right into it?
Great.
Partnership. I think it's important to kind of set the scene from what do we look at as partnership and why is it critical to business? I'm going to turn over to you, but just to even frame it as well, I'm a partner in a law firm. So partnership is very real to me in a day-to-day business perspective. But then I'm a service provider as well. So I have to provide services. And there's a way that after I let you tell us what you look at as partnership itself, and then why is it critical, I think because you have a broader business presence and experience, I will use that to kind of dovetail into partnership from a law firm point of view, but because we advise companies as well in all sectors, how we would see partnership internally and with third parties as well. So Dewunmi, why don't you start us off with what you think of as partnership from a micro and macro level, and why you think it's critical?
Right. So I think so that we don't end up kind of devolving into like an economics lecture or something like that. Partnerships essentially, and Dayo, you said it perfectly. For the two of us, the principles might be the same, but how we act in partnerships or what it means. Is it a noun? Is it an adjective? Totally different. So for me, partnerships is not a title, as it were for instance, you and you as a service provider. Partnerships for me is the coming together of one or more resources or value holders to exchange this value in a sort of agreed upon manner. So the thing for me with partnerships, bottom line, it's I don't want to say it should be, but good partnerships should be strategic in the sort of coming together. So you know exactly what you're giving, what you're getting. But at the very just layman's way to understand it, it's two or more people or organizations coming together to exchange value in a mutually beneficial way. Now, these things are subjective. How much benefit you derive from the partnership, how much you put in, it depends on the agreement you have. But at the end of the day, it's in order for you to achieve your preset business goals or your ideals, what do you get back from the person to help you achieve that? That really is it. Come together with someone or people or organizations to exchange value and achieve these goals. I think that's the simplest way I can put it from my perspective and the way I work in partnerships.
And then the criticality of it before I come back into my kind of interpretation of it and how I see it.
So, Chidalu said something in the preamble to this. It's that you've established your business, you've set up, you have done what you can do. How do you move to the next level? How do you scale? How do you step up? There is a point where your resources are just not going to be enough to get you to the next level you need to be.
Sorry. Okay. That might be a failed partner that is just coming back to.
Oh my God! you know when they say village people. So in terms of the criticality, again, to move you to the next stage, the next level, to grow your business, to groom your business, to achieve these goals you set up, there's going to be a point where that is the key. That's the only thing left to explore. And it is a tangible business activity, right? Seeking partnerships and securing partnerships. It is technically should be in people's business plans as a way to grow and scale their business. So I would say it's highly critical, especially if you're being strategic, to, aside from the work you're doing to build your organization or your business, to be able to scale it through partnerships, to understand, okay, this thing I'm building has this sort of value it can give. How do I move to the next level to work with someone? So there's a point where this literally is the most critical decision you can make. What type of strategic partnerships will push me to the next level?
Great, and I think that's you've made 2 points here. And before I get into it, while it might not quite seem to bang on with the question, I think it does from a different point of view as well. You made the point of the partnership is about exchange of value in a mutually beneficial way, and it might seem that's a given, right? But I would like to take it from a lawyer's point of view, both internally and externally. I'm in a partnership in a law firm called Templars. There are a number of partners. Like Chidalu introduced, my day-to-day is mergers and acquisitions and oil and gas. I have a partner that does finance, tax. I have a partner that does litigation. I have 2 senior advocates of Nigeria. Now, how we all get value from each other within the firm is that you have the specialization and expertise. Sure, there are solicitors that can go to court and vice versa, but specialization is the name of the game if you want to scale up. And that was the vision of the founding and managing partner of the firm. But if you take it out of the firm, we are service providers, and we are not, and I don't think the most successful lawyers look at clients as just clients. You have to look at them as partners because you have to be vested in their success. And being vested in their success goes beyond getting paid your fees. You want to see them succeed. Now, one point I want to make that Dewunmi we talked about yesterday is you can vest and invest in a relationship, and I think we'll talk about that next. And it doesn't have to be altruistic. I'm a commercial lawyer, I'm a corporate lawyer. And people, I keep repeating this, and people seem to brush over it before I go into your next point. People can smell and see artificiality a mile away. So are you genuinely interested in your strategic partner or client success? Do you have mutual goals? Or are you trying to take advantage of a situation in a short-term basis for your solo benefit? These are things that we will begin to drill down to in the conversation. But I have a very quick answer to it in that people have a sense, it's almost an instinctual thing. But you said an important thing that I had never considered before. You said strategic partnerships should actually be part of your business plan. Some founders, some entrepreneurs, some people who want to start out as entrepreneurs, maybe some who want to be lawyers, although I don't know if I'll advise that in this climb, but I don't know that that is something that they actively consider, that even if it's not a short term, it should be a medium or long term part of your business plan to create strategic partnerships. Now, I have a way and manner in which I think I do that, but in your roles, both at the Tony Elumelu Foundation and previously when you were working in the United States, how do you plan for that and more effectively implement that in the short to medium term?
Right. So thank you. And I get that reaction a lot when I speak to SMEs, that what section of the business plan am I supposed to put strategic partnerships? So it's good to first mention that you're not expected to have it in the first 6 months. You've already figured out what your strategic partnerships are. No, it definitely has to be part of your long-term plans, though. And for the work we do at the foundation, it is ridiculously important that we dedicate the time to map out partners and partnership opportunities. So for instance, we work with international donors that have funding cycles. It's not every year that they would have funds to be able to support entrepreneurs. It's not every year that they would be releasing funds to support the type of work we do. So if we didn't have a relationship with them 3 years ago, they finally announced this fund, and then we show up like, gimme, it's going to be a little bit of a tough sell, right? So if you are thinking in terms of how do you identify and maintain these relationships long-term and why it ought to be part of your business plan, it's so that when the opportunity presents itself to work with the organization, you are prepared. In my previous roles at the United Nations, now the United Nations is one of those bodies that if they say strategic planning is a thing, strategic planning is a thing. The funds are donated by member states. So before you can get funds, you have to say, this is what I'm going to spend the funds on. So once you get the funds, you can't spend it on anything else. So if you have, for instance, a recipient organization like the Tony Elumelu Foundation, who has not shown interest the years before you got the fund, you don't know them from anywhere, it will tie back to, Dayo, what you said about people can smell inauthenticity a mile away. So it's just like, it seems very self-serving if you just show up and say, I heard you got some money yesterday, can I have some? It's like when your family members win the lottery. You better be already friends with them, otherwise that's it. It's the same sort of concept when it comes to thinking partnerships as a long-term strategy. Simply because if you know your business, you know what you want to achieve, you know the players in your ecosystem, it behooves you to develop relationships with them. Because it may sound weird, but you never know. But if you now have a strong research and strategic development team, you will know. You will know when things are swinging around. This is speaking from the perspective of funding and fund management. Now, being strategic about partnerships when it comes to like SMEs is a little bit of a different thing. Because like I said, I work with donors who have funding cycles, who have priority areas and focus areas. So I can easily just identify who fits into my area to target and go after them. Literally, you go after them, you build the relationship, you nurture it, because in the future you have something that you can offer as value and they'd be able to work with you. For SME, it's similar to the same thing. You need to just look at that, but pull out a little bit from it and say, as an SME that's setting up a business, what do I need to do in the long run? Who would I need to work with? Where do I need to be? And these partnerships don't necessarily even have to be something that is a tangible value good. It could be membership in an elite committee or a network, that you're seeking partnerships to support you to access. So while you may not think it's a huge deal, but imagine being as part of your business plan, you've thought about professional memberships, because it's in the professional memberships and in building in the payments for attending these conferences, for belonging to these groups, you're providing for the opportunity to build the partnership, right? So essentially, I know it sounds odd, think about strategic partnerships as part of your business plan, but I just broke down the actual tactical way to do it as an SME. Think about memberships into organizations where you can network and meet these people, but that's how it apply. I don't think everybody on this call kind of works the way we work, where my partnerships, I have a research team, I have a principal founder who literally in one conversation with a head of state can just say, let's do this thing, and we're doing it, So for the average person who doesn't have those sort of door opening powers, you need to go back to the basics, research what will help you grow, what will help you scale, and start planning for it from now.
Thank you, Dewunmi. And I think what we'll see is a commonality in spaces, because we wanted to make this conversation very topical and relevant. And I like the way you've said some things, right? You work with the Tony Elumelu Foundation. I say this not for bragging or to rub, not for hype, but it's to scale.
Number one philanthropy, brag.
Yeah, exactly. So now you work for a billionaire who literally can call the president of just about any country in the world. I have seen him in action in Paris and in Cape Town, different places where we've come across each other. But some people will say, but how does that relate to me? Now, if I take it down from your very high level, and I mean this with all due humbleness, if you take it down to a firm like mine, right? We've got clients. We advise very big companies. We advise very small companies. And there is something my managing partner told me maybe 16 years ago when I joined the firm. He said, invest in relationships. And he said, that's how you are going to grow and keep growing. Invest in relationships is something that I never forgot. And I say it to everyone listening to me now. It will apply in different ways, but I will practicalize it in two kind of broad ways. Dewunmi talked about mapping out. And even if you don't know about mapping out, it's about networking. It's about being part of these organizations, because familiarity in the business world brings opportunity. And I'll say that again. Familiarity brings opportunity. Why do I say this? And I'll tell you a personal story between me and Dewunmi. I haven't seen Dewunmi in maybe 2.5 years. Last time I saw her was in Paris. It was at a conference. Time before that, I saw her in Cape Town. It was at a conference. Time before that, it was somewhere else. Now, again, that is not about the bragging, but it's just, I made a joke to her.
And we both live in Lagos.
We both live in Lagos, but we only see each other out of the country, right? But because part of our work is strategic partnerships. I lead business development efforts in my firm. So we have to be out there. And that is part of bringing in a pipeline. That is part of investing in relationships. So if you can take it down from quote unquote a big firm and take it down to an SME, Dewunmi said an important point. What is your business? With respect to anyone who might be doing it there, I just thought of this example. If you are doing pure water or bottled water, right? There will come a point where, and I've done this because I've advised such a company, you can only sell so much in traffic. Then you want to scale up to a hotel or hotels or supplying an estate or a few estates, so that you're going from a micro retail to a major retail, so that you're supplying all of the Ibano stores or Ibano supermarkets in Lagos. The Lagos people know who I'm talking about, right? And you're not going to just walk in. I'm using the pure water example. You're not going to walk into Ebano or Park and Shop or Spa and say, oh, I have water. You have to have invested in that relationship over months and years. And while you might be wondering, why am I wasting time doing this? You're not doing it for now, you're doing it for 2 years down the line. So taking it down to a very micro level from Dewunmi's point of view is, I'm putting, shoving myself into the conversation, is investing in relationships. You need to identify what your market is. Where would you want to be? I will tell you a story I know for a fact. Seaway Water, that now they make the water dispensers. Seaway Water used to sell pure water almost 20 years ago. Then they started doing bottles. Then they started doing the bottles that we put in our dispensers. Now they make the dispensers. It's almost, you want to think about, in my service industry, how do I become the Seaway, or how do I become the Google? And then before I turn back to you, Dewunmi, is on a very practical level as well. We advise in our firm very large, maybe 80% of our clients are international, and some of the largest international companies looking at operating in Nigeria. But while that is sustainable, while that's admirable, and that's what has gotten our firm to our size, it's important that we look for who's coming up next in Nigeria. So part of my remit is being out there enough that I am talking to founders, people who are interested in setting up a company, however small it might be, and building those relationships so that when they become the Seaway of their industry in 15 years, 10 years, or 5 years, you've started the relationship building before they blew up. Going to your point of, it's not when the funds are available that you want to be friends. Anyone now, when I win a lottery, that was me knocking on wood, that I haven't talked to in 2 years, don't hit me up asking for money. But if you've called me when I didn't have money, I will really give it up. So, for me, that is where it goes. Now, Dewunmi, I have a question for you. What is strategic partnership? Partnership is a nice word. We want to talk now, drill down to what's strategic. What is strategic partnership? What's waste of time partnership? What's a
strategic partnerships? Partnerships make sense. Partnerships that, because if you're in business, you must have a business plan. You must have, like you just said, let's continue using the pure water business example, both as the SME level and the growth we saw for Seaway. When they started, they clearly had a vision. It may not have been as big as it is now, but they had a vision to sell and dominate the market. So at the point where they infiltrated the traffic pure water market, they needed to grow, like you said, they needed to scale. So that means even in terms of their business goals, it was well defined about how we want to now enter the hotels. We want to do this, we want to do that. So they had a plan. And if they did not have capital, for instance, and wanted to work on a relationship, now sometimes partnership sometimes isn't about, and that's why I didn't want to use, my work example, because that one is about resource mobilization purely, whether financial or non-financial, getting tools and resources in the hands of the entrepreneurs that I work for, essentially. I think people, especially SMEs, should understand that partnerships sometimes it's not about financial gain. So for the Seaway people who now wanted to scale beyond the traffic selling, they approach the hotel and say, we want to do your branded water for here. They're still being paid. In fact, they might make a little less because they have to pay to rebrand the bottles to be the hotel's thing. But that is a strategic partnership that guarantees them a certain amount of volume movement every month, right? They might approach an event planner and say, hey, as a strategic partner, every time or these caterers that do these massive events, every time you're selling drink sellers, we will give it to you at a, maybe even if it's a 5 naira discount, but still deliver a branded bottle for your event. That sort of arrangement is a strategic partnership, because guess what? It helps them move the volumes, and it gives them the credibility of, oh, you are the guys that do the branded bottle at the cost of the other bottles. And because they're moving volume, they're still making their money, right? So for me, strategic, when I say what is a strategic partnership, partnerships with get sense, is a partnership that will help you grow, make money, connect to your profitability point while still building relationships. It's another thing to manage these partnerships and keep them going and keep them great. But to identify strategic partnerships, you just have to kind of look at what is there to be gained to help your business. How can you help the other person's business? And understand how it fits for both. It does not need a long-term, super drawn-out plan. It doesn't need, no. For the purpose of that transaction, let's call it that, you've identified that if I work with this person in this way now, I have the opportunity to continue working with them, to continue building with them. And to put it in terms that I think us young business people understand, we can both gain money together, right? In the long run. I know that language is a bit different from, I guess, the lawyer perspective and the way you build relationships and partners. But for us, it comes down to that. Can we get money together? Can we, share a sort of impact that we're looking for? So that's it.
No, I fully agree. Now, before I come back on that point, just for our listeners, an admin point, we are happy to take questions. We want this to be interactive. If you've got questions, please put them in on the platform you are on. Chidalu will, maybe if there are any questions, she'll let me know. And after I have a go now, we can attempt to answer some of them. She's nodding. So we'll take a couple of questions after this.
And let me just jump in quickly. You can make it as personalized as it is, because Dayo and myself, we come at partnerships from such a we have so much wide experience around it that even if you're like, my business, shoot, we're ready to help.
Yeah, we're ready to help. So now, you touched upon a point that even Chidalu brought up as well. What is the essence of a strategic partnership? Now, let me preface this by saying one thing. Dewunmi works in philanthropy. I am a lawyer, commercial lawyer. You would first ask, how are these people even getting along? They should be having swords at each other's necks, right? At the end of the day, the partnership, Dewunmi said something, is even as a lawyer, you're not forming partnerships for altruistic reasons, okay? I'm not doing it for the common good or for humanity. I deal with that separately. From a work perspective, it is, how are we going to make money together? Because this is a business forum, okay? And it comes back to investing. If your overbearing or overriding reason for forming a partnership is money, 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 I keep telling people it puts people off. So let me give you a practical example of strategic partnership. A small startup company comes to me 3 years ago. They had met me at a conference, which I like doing because it gets me out there and it gets my firm out there. And somebody comes to me, oh, you work at this firm, Templars, oh, would have loved to use you, but we can't afford you. I said, what makes you think that? They say, oh, we know you guys, you're big, you're expensive. I said, we're not cheap, but what are you talking about? Oh, I'd love a lawyer like you, but XYZ. And I said, well, let's have a talk. I believe investing in relationships. Yeah, you're just part of my friendship. You're bullshitting me. He comes into the office. We have a talk. I said, well, this is what we'll charge. But you're a startup. I'm going to charge 70% less than I would because I don't work for free. And let me tell you the advantage. He said, but why don't you do it for free or 10%? I said, well, because when you go into a negotiation and you say your lawyers are Templars, the people that were going to try and shaft you, they will have a second think. The people who thought you weren't serious are going to think, oh, wow, if they can bring Templars in, that's going to work. Now, at the same time, my managing partner is like, why are we working for these people? They can't afford us. And I'm like, don't worry, it's a strategic partnership. 3 years later, this company has blown up and other lawyers are looking for this company. And I have built the relationship to a point where we did the work as if they were our highest paying clients. They appreciate that. Not everyone will. And I told the founder 3 years ago, I said, there's going to come a day you're going to say, Dayo, don't charge me those rates. I want you to charge me what you're charging X. He said, well, maybe. I said, no, as long as we can shake, and I think you're an honorable guy, this is going to happen. And this is what happened. And the company has blown up. And because that company has blown up and they know that Templars are their lawyers, then other people are coming to us as well. So it becomes, a snowball effect. And with other companies as well, depending on what you do, you need to, going back to Dewunmi's earlier point, you need to be able to get out there. Your business is about people and connections, right? And you must be able to stay in a partnership, and it goes to a question I've just had that is very interesting. You must invest in the long term, because let me tell you what, I don't, quote unquote, and I don't want you to think it's Naira or dollars and cents or Naira and Kobo, no. When I say relationships, there are people I know I will never make money from, and I'll read out the question, right? But it goes to that, and it's interesting, it was the next point I was going to make. The people I'll never make money from, but I keep those relationships close. You know why? Because maybe they'll tell somebody else about me. Oh, you need a lawyer, talk to that guy, the referral. Right. Or if you're in a business and you're in, say, a chamber of commerce, people think those things are a waste of time. No. The people you meet. And I found this thing, humans are intrinsically good and they want to help people most times. If they see something of themselves or something they wanted in themselves in another person, they usually help. But Dewunmi, let me pose a question we've just received to you, and then I'll answer it. The question is, how do you know when it's time to end a partnership, even if you're making money together? Oh, I've got questions.
Wahala.
Story for that.
Wahala.
You first. I think I might have been directed to the lawyer. That looks like a legal question, but
right. And I was about to say, because before you started speaking, when it came up, I just spoken about how for a retail company like a pure water company, they would be looking at how can we get this money together. That really would be the focus of their partnerships if they're doing it, because you can't really approach a hotel brand and say, I want to build this relationship so that in the future you recommend me to people to give free water to them. No, it wouldn't work, right? So in that sort of partnership, strategically aligning with this organization, with the hotel, this is for the pure water example now, is about getting money together.
Correct.
Now, to the question of when do you know when to end a partnership, even if you're making money together, you have to ask yourself, in defining the strategic reason you joined this partnership, was it about money? Because if it was strictly, like I just gave in the pure water example, I'm going to need the person to tell me, why do you want to end the relationship that is making you money, if that was the core reason? If, for instance, the partner is a difficult personality and it's affecting your mental health, you don't want to deal with it, but the core reason you're working with them is to make money, you need to start looking for strategies, right? You can't exit this partnership that is the core of your business plan because it doesn't make you feel good. I don't know if that makes sense. And it's like, if the core reason you're working with this person is to make money and you're still making money, why would you want to end it? Okay, I'm giving you an example. Oh, it's bad for my mental health. I now realize I don't want to work in this space anymore. So that now means your core reason for working with them is no longer the money. So what's stopping you from walking away? So this thing is a personal decision. If the partnership is no longer serving you, it puts your mental health at risk, your physical health at risk. If what you're getting from the partnership, the money, no longer weighs the most for you, it's time to walk away. You will leave the money on the table. If you are comfortable with that, you can walk away. But I do think the decision of when to walk away from a lucrative partnership is very personal, and you will need to live with that, because the twins that walked away from Zuckerberg, till tomorrow,
They still regret it.
they walked away. They were getting money. It wasn't a lot of money at the time, but they walked away. So it's a very personal decision, in my opinion. And I think now we can have the legalese around this
Right.
to tell us, how do you define when to walk away? Because I know there'll be agreements in place, and if you breach it, it's over.
And I'll give the legal answer, but I'll give a personal answer as well. I read the question again. End the partnership even if you're making money. To me, if you're making money together, and to the person asking this question, that means the trust has been breached, right? And it goes down to Dewunmi's point of, why did you get into it? Some people, and I'm one of them, if I can't trust and or like the person I'm in partnership with, the money doesn't mean a lot. Because money comes, money goes. But I realize that I'm a weirdo. So, and this is recorded.
Weird.
Please, the spark, edit this part out, right? Or you can do it. But no, on a serious tip, right? Personally, I kind of feel where this person is coming from, because I feel they're still making money together, but trust or a mental health issue has been breached. But let me tell you this. Going back to Dewunmi's point, if money was the primary reason, I have seen too many business people walk away from money they shouldn't. So if your partnership is making you money and it's a personal reason, the first thing I will say is there a way of adding a buffer so that you are not front and center of that partnership? If that is the case, then remove yourself from the immediate situation, perhaps look for another partnership, and put someone else in your organization or someone else at the front of that partnership, and then it becomes a dividend. We all, or some of us, make money from investments in a company, but you're not dealing with the day-to-day. So you shift that away. Now, that is the touchy-feely answer. Let me give you the lawyer spiel, because you probably didn't want the touchy-feely answer, and I'm a touchy-feely person. The lawyer bit is you need to look at your contract and what are the termination or exit provisions. But please, 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 if you do not have an agreement, then you're in trouble and you should have had a lawyer. It's not an I told you so, but it's an I told you so. And if you do have an agreement, you need to carefully consider both your legal and, more importantly, commercial options. Because a lot of these agreements, do you get to walk away with the intellectual property? Do you get to walk away with the business? Were you the originator of it? Even if you are the originator of it, even if you started the business, I have seen many founders or people who are the business case leave a partnership and then they were out, right? They do not continue to get the benefit of something they founded. So it is good to ensure that before you get into these strategic partnerships, you have proper documentation. If you want to exit it, you need to look at your documentation again. And then sometimes I will tell you this, if you're making money and all else is just touchy-feely, you may want to go ahead with it, because I would end on this example that Dewunmi used, the Winklevoss twins, right? They arguably started Facebook with Zuckerberg. Either way, he decided to buy them out and they decided to accept it. And they were fine with it till Facebook blew up. Then they said, but we helped him do that. They didn't do that before, and if we never heard of Facebook. So they sued. Yes, and they got $1 billion at the end of the day. These twins now are billionaires, but they are still bitter because in their mind, rightly or wrongly, they were the founders of Facebook. And instead of being only $1 billion, which I think at least me and Dewunmi wouldn't mind being just that. They think they should be worth hundreds of billions. So there comes a point, and to end this, and I'll give a very personal story. I had a family member, I remember very long ago, I was 12 or 13, and this family member.
Long.
You're very long, very long. Don't let the looks fool you. There's no filter here, but I'm older than I look. And a family member came to my mom, asked for advice, said, oh, I'm in a partnership. I don't like this, I don't like that. And my mom, who's a trained psychologist, not a lawyer, listened to everything, but I was sitting beside her. And she said, well, you know, this is a personal issue, not a business issue. I think you should just suck it up and get on with it. All partners are not supposed to be friends or family. She said that to him, and it's important because we conflagate. I always mess up that word. We conflagate partnership with friendship.
Right.
It's nice. It's a nice to have, but it's not required. Family, nice to have, not required. Step away from it, because to end this story, this gentleman stepped away from the partnership, never quite recovered. He was a mini version of the Winklevoss. We have another question, Dewunmi, I'll put to you. How can I identify, and this I think is part of your day job, how can I identify potential partners as a small business? I have some ideas. You first.
Right. So we'll come back to what is your plan? Open your business plan. You know, I speak to this often with my entrepreneurs, my bosses, technically, and they're like, oh, if you're able to sit and say, what are my needs as a business? You've already identified your potential partners. That's the bottom line. Aside from finance, aside from money, cash, grants, loans, equity, debt, funding, what are your needs as an organization? If you're able to reach out and say, my needs as an organization, I need PR, I need marketing, I need a brand design, I need a logo design. We're going to stick with pure water company, right? So people can follow along. As a pure water company, yes, I want to expand, but I also want packaging that makes me stand out. Have you thought about, and this is a practical example, you've now mapped out what your needs are. You then go through the list and you say, well, I can go to this advertising agency that essentially can do this for me. They can design my logo. They can help me with my branding, create a brand Bible, my letterhead, my this, my that. And I will offer to support them or to sponsor or to deliver water for free to the building for 3 months, whatever the value exchange would be. So for you, to answer the question to the person who asked, to identify as a small business is the same way you would identify it sitting at Dayo's desk, right? It's the same way you'd identify it in your personal life when you want to improve on certain things and you know you have to seek out new opportunities. You take a minute, especially for small businesses. I think things come as small businesses fast, particularly in our part of the world. You've literally just finished solving a logistics issue, then there's a manufacturing issue, there's a power issue, there's a this issue, but there needs to be time for you to touch base with your business plan and or your business partners if you're working with people to say, how are we staying on track towards our goal? These are the needs that we have. How do we meet them? And then strategically decide, oh, do you think we can offer partnership to this building this way? We'll supply them with water and they'll give us their service, like a service exchange. So again, to identify the sort of partnerships you need to first define your needs, right? Once your needs have been defined, then it'll be the simplest thing to say, okay, now I need to put a strategy in place to meet these needs, working with other people, knowing what I have to offer. Dayo, please weigh in here because I feel like my pure water example is for all small people. And then you at the big boy level can tell us, how do you?
Well, you know, I think there's a commonality of strategy across business sizes. My first short answer to the question, because lawyers can talk too much if you give them half a chance. As a small business, And to identify potential partners, you need to map your industry and your clientele. And then, more importantly, you need to map the companies and relationships that feed into that. Because I feel a lot of times small businesses say, well, these are my clients, so I'm only going to chase the clients. That is fine, but that's business development. We're talking strategic partnerships, and strategic partnerships needs to go to more, right? So going back to an earlier example that Dewunmi said, if you're a small business, I think it behooves you, it's almost a requirement, you need to be part of a number of business organizations or committees. It increases the visibility of you as a part of your organization, but also your product. So going back, and I'm sorry, maybe I started this and we must continue with it. Going back to the pure water example, forget the hotel. Sometimes you don't identify the potential partners, they identify you. But you must put yourself in a scenario or situations that you can be seen and identified. So, earlier example that Dewunmi said, are you a member of a business organization? They're having a monthly meeting and you're doing pure water. Then you offer to supply water to everyone or to that event. So your pure water is on everyone's desk. So you don't, even though you should be, you don't have to talk to everyone there, right? They will see your product and then they see it the next month. Then you tie that big business organization up for 12 months, say, I'll supply your water for the next year, right? It's not a lot, but the reach of those organizations that attend that would mean that somebody else would be like, when they're planning a party, when they're planning their own internal corporate event, they'll be like, oh yeah, there's this company that does for our Chamber of Commerce. Why don't we reach out to them? That's number one. That is how you do it, second tier. But going back to my first example is how do you identify, you map, you approach, you fall, and you fail. Some people use fall and fail. I use it as experience. You need to, and I tell my colleagues in my law firm, you need to develop a business development muscle. It's like any other muscle, going to the gym, when you're doing yoga, when you're studying, you do it often enough, it becomes, if not second nature, comfortable to you. So identifying potential partners means you need to map your industry, you need to map tangential industries, and you need to put yourself in those situations where people can see you and you can see them. That's my short answer.
Right. I think just to add on to that, you said something that was very interesting that we haven't talked about, where you have mapped the industry, you've identified, you've worked with someone, it's going great, but it still fails. Whether through, oh, it's a personal reason, it's a professional reason, there's some partnerships that it will take a hit. So we need to also talk about how to keep pushing when you've taken a hit, how to maximize even the hit. A couple of days ago, what's his name, Cristiano Ronaldo, in a partnership with is it Coca-Cola or PepsiCo? Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola that he moved the bottle, yeah.
Brand sponsors. He sat down at a conference and shifted their bottles off the screen, holds up the water. Yes. So essentially telling people water is better than that crap I just moved off the table. Now, there was a $4-point-something billion hit to the stocks of Coca-Cola or PepsiCo, I'm not sure which. And that is a hit to that partnership. So what I was expecting to see within 30 minutes of that is a whole ad campaign with Cristiano holding his football and bottles of PepsiCo or Coca-Cola bottling company's water. Like, water, it's the thing to do today.
Correct.
I didn't see that. So even at that high level, they weren't being responsive to that failure in the partnership. They weren't paying attention to it because your partnership is like your baby, right? you have to monitor it. It's part of your business, right? So you're monitoring the partnerships, you're taking the pulse, you're feeling the temperature, you're making sure it's not choking, dying in the bed. And if you take a hit like that, for anybody in a small business, a large business, you have to have a plan to kind of be able to take that hit, the failing, the falling, failing, the experience, but have a plan to mitigate and move forward. So for me, like I said, I was expecting them to run a whole campaign with Cristiano and water. I haven't seen that. Hopefully they're able to recover. I'm sure they will. It's Coca-Cola. Everybody drinks Coke. They will. But it was very interesting to see the effect of that sort of partnership, taking a hit from something that wasn't even intentional, because it happens. Things are not intentional.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just wanted to chip that in as you were discussing how to identify partnerships and how do you know you have to have a plan. Everything has to have a plan. The plan to join the organizations, like Dayo said, the plan to be visible to people who might need your service, like Dayo said, the plan, if this visibility, if your plan doesn't work, what's your plan C for your plan that didn't work? Because you do ultimately, the criticality, like we said earlier, of partnerships, forming these relationships, it cannot be overstated.
Chidalu, yeah, of course. Chidalu, I know we're pushing up on time, but I just wanted to quickly talk on, I think what's an important point that is a follow-on to the previous question about identifying. People often identify, but what's the follow-through and the maintenance of those partnerships? How do you maintain a successful partnership? Because again, I think once people have identified partnerships, they need to manage expectations as well. They think that in the highest way. And if I may, Dewunmi, I'm going to use you as an example. You work for Tony Elumelu. Some people are reaching out to you thinking, oh, let me meet up with Dewunmi and she's going to introduce me to Tony Elumelu. And when I meet Tony Elumelu, I'm going to have this great business plan and he's going to give me $100 million or $10 million or $1 million or 10 million naira or even $1 million naira. And because part of your work is sifting through, identifying viable opportunities or partnerships, and then somebody might come and say, oh, I have this idea and it doesn't work. And you might give constructive feedback, but they don't take it that way. They realize they're not going to get the money from you in 7 to 10 business days. They're not going to meet Tony Elumelu because you're guarding your boss. So they're like, well, this was a waste of time. I just came to this conference to meet Dewunmi so she would get me some money and or introduce me to Tony Elumelu. Meanwhile, they're not playing the long game. And Chidalu, towards your question of maintaining, it's always a long game. I unfortunately or fortunately, I'm able to speak on this now only because of experience. I've been a lawyer 20 years, and it's taken me not quite as long, but I remember the first lawyer I worked for, and I said, well, you know, this is so hard. When am I going to get money like you? You're balling. Here I am suffering on the ground floor. And he's like, you've got to pay your dues. And I'm like, oh, everybody says that. You old people, you say that. But he was right. You've got to pay your dues. You've just got to keep at it, right? Now, to the Dewunmi example and to your question, Chidalu, about maintaining, you can't think of partnerships as being altruistic, which means it's not for charity or it's not for free, but you can't be so money driven or looking for an immediate feedback that you lose sight of the long-term goal, right? In practice as a lawyer, the reason I'm being invited now is I'm a partner at a big firm. If I hadn't stayed practicing as long as I wouldn't have been as successful as I am, and then the spark wouldn't have invited me. If I did not decide to invest in a strategic partnership with clients that are not big, but I hope they'll be big, they know they'll be big or hope, but I only hope then you'll get to a point where you become their trusted advisor. So maintaining strategic partnerships is like maintaining personal relationships. You have to put the effort in. There has to be mutual respect. There has to be give and take. It's not rocket science. And when your reasoning for these partnerships is, part of the French is it's bullshit or short term, then you don't invest as much in it, and then you don't get anything out of it. I mean, that's what I've got to say. Dewunmi, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Because you still haven't introduced me to Tony Elumelu, and I've known you
You're not playing the long game. You're not playing the long game.
I haven't quite asked for the introduction, but she hasn't for those ones. Carry on.
I think some of the things you come across is when your desire to partner, it doesn't align with anything but your personal desire. It is very obvious. Because to partner with somebody, you really should have identified the value you bring, how you can offer that value up front, and then see what they will offer back. Because also it's a negotiation. That's why you need brilliant lawyers like Dayo at the table when you do get that big money people. But I do believe that this nurturing relationships thing, it ties down to you understanding why you are engaging or seeking partnerships. If you know working with XYZ person is important to you because of the building of your brand, your positioning, you would treat it differently. It's like having a special outfit. You know, you bought this Chanel skirt. Oh my God, You're going to treat it differently, to be honest, than your favorite Zara skirt. Because that one you throw on, you wear. But this one that you invested so much money in it, even though it's not your favorite, you're still treating them as special, aren't you? Because it's worth more. So when you look at partnerships, you decide within yourself, why are you doing it? Is this your favorite partner or your favorite type of partnership, or is it your baby? And you need to treat all your partnerships like the Chanel skirt that gets, laundered differently, gets hung up, gets climate controlled closet, the whole shebang. Because at the end of the day, you never know. To use the example that you just said, with people who want to meet you because they want to meet somebody that you work for, they might send, I want to meet XYZ. There is a procedure in place on our side, right? So your request would go to the head of the chairman's office. It's not me. I don't go up to him and say, sir, this person emailed me on LinkedIn. I want to connect you. And even if you have the most brilliant business idea, there's a whole investment team that would look at the idea. No HNI or is walking around and just say, hey, you, take money. You, take money. So when you're looking at partnerships, and if you want to approach these relationships with people and it's okay to want to exploit or leverage, that's a better word, leverage your relationships with people for better. But have you clearly defined your why? Why do you want to use your relationship with Dayo to get to the managing director of Templates? Like, why? What is it you're offering that would make it, appealing for Dayo to say, yes, this is something I want to push upward? And if you haven't done the work to nurture the relationship with Dayo, you haven't done the work to prepare yourself and your own value proposition, you haven't done the work. You have not done the work to be an attractive person to partner with. So just to wrap it up, in terms of advice to the entrepreneurs in Africa, do the work to be somebody people want to partner with. Be the expert in your field. Know your business. Be good at your business. Be memberships into the organizations like that. I said, even some Instagram communities. You go there and you see them say, anybody who wants to advertise in the comment section, advertise, and you see 30,000 comments and people are discovering each other there. Next thing you know, this in-person post, member of our community, boom, everybody rushes to buy from that person. So be the best in what you're doing. Keep your value proposition high. Know why you would want to partner with somebody and why somebody should want to partner with you, and work at it. Survive the hits, have a plan, a backup plan for your backup plan, and ultimately know that partnerships is a tool. It is a tool that you should take seriously. It's a tool that you can do more reading and learning on. Their courses. People have MBAs in partnerships, right? There are courses you can take, and you should, like Dayo said, business development is a muscle. Partnerships is a muscle. You need to work that and make it work for you. So that would be my advice. That's it. Dayo, over to you.
I think you captured it. You captured it perfectly. And I'm gonna kind of close out because it's a Friday night, and however interesting we might think we are, people we shouldn't subject them to more than an hour of us. But
they can catch us on our LinkedIn's and our
exactly.
socials.
Catch us outside. If I'm not aging myself with that statement.
No, you did not.
I'm sorry about that. I think for me, in closing, it is partnership and business development is a muscle that needs to be developed. Dewunmi said something I think is very key, and I think something I may have taken for granted in speaking, but I think should be mentioned. You should be able to ask yourself this: if you were not you, would you want to partner with yourself? It's a very important question. If you were not you, I ask myself this: okay, Dayo, if I met you, why would I want to instruct you as a lawyer? Ask yourself that. Why would this person want to do business with you? A. And if you can't answer it straight away, it's a problem, but it's a solvable problem. You need to develop that. You know why? I always tell people, be ready for the elevator pitch, right? You'll be somewhere, somehow, someone's going to ask something that you need to be able to answer. 1. 2, if you cannot tell yourself why you'd want to partner with yourself, develop that. Make yourself valuable. Again, in all I have said, right, I am a good lawyer. We are a good firm. That's why people want to work with us. That's why a smaller company that possibly couldn't afford us, they would want us in their corner because we offer that heft. But the value I'm adding is I'm a quote unquote big lawyer or big law firm. They're a small company. They would appreciate the value I'm bringing and hopefully remember that further down the line. So you need to be able to offer. People are hesitant to offer value to those who don't give some kind of value back, even if it's just a feel-good factor. And I think that's it for me. Dewunmi, any closing remarks before we hand over to Chidalu?
No, we're definitely on the same page. Whatever level your business is, wherever you are right now in the business, look at it. What your value proposition is, what you are, what you offer. Would you want to partner with you for anything? And if not, build your value proposition, build who you are. And Dayo said something very important. It's not always about what you can offer in terms of cash in the bank. Sometimes it's just your resources, it's your networks that you can offer. And sometimes you can just offer people the feel-good effect. You know, the work you would do together with them will make them feel good. But they wouldn't get to know that if you, A, are not somewhere they can see you, you're not really good at your business, you don't really do anything, nobody knows you. So again, work on your proposition as a business, small and large, as an individual too, because people invest in people. People partner with people. It's not really all the time about the business or the actual opportunity. So yeah, work on being that person or that organization you would want to partner with, and and keep at it. Just keep at it. Like the perseverance that is required to find the right partnerships to blow you to the moon, to that level of the example that Dayo was talking about with his client. He gave an example, brilliant example earlier. They kept working and they're good. So it's not like somebody will partner with you and just do it. Be good, be really good at what you do. So that's it for me.
Wow.
Chidalu?
Thank you so much for this impactful conversation. It's super explosive, insightful, and I believe everyone learned a lot. I personally learned a lot. Like I wrote down a lot of points here, like over 20, and I'll definitely come back to watch this again. So one of the things that
tell us your top favorite point. What is the top favorite point, Chidalu?
My favorite was actually like, strategic partnership is not just one that will give you money, but the one that will help you grow while building and maintaining relationships. That stood out for me because it's very personal to, my challenges. And of course, when Dayo said you have to invest in the long term, that is something people take for granted a lot. Instant gratification, you don't, you know, play the long game as he called it. So many, so many points to that for me. And I'm sure it is the same for you out there. And if you want to have access to the session recording, simply click the link on the bio wherever you are. If you're on Instagram, click the link on the bio. If you're on Facebook, do the same thing wherever you are. Simply click the link there to sign up to get access to the session recording. And not only that, we also have a little gift for you, as always, a 1 month free subscription access to the Spark platform. This access gives you, it gives you access to the masterclass, the Spark masterclass, the magazine, and other community resources that we have there. And of course, you get to watch past session recordings as well. Now, I can't, we've already taken up the time, but I'm sure.
Wait, so sorry, Chidalo, before we go, I have to buttress what you just said. One of the most strategic sort of partnerships I have embarked on this year to learn more, to improve my own self, to actually have access to mentors, business giants who are talking about things that even at my level, there's always learning to be done. It happened when I joined the Spark community. I joined the Spark community. I'm watching the master classes like, I mean, learning like that. So I have to reiterate, click the link in the bio. And for the fact that they're giving it away for free, you need to sign up now. The teaching's on there, the mentorship is on there. Even the community that we just spoke about, it's on there. And that is a definite way you can ignite your business ideas, ignite your life, and really just be, again, as we were discussing, the best you can be. Build the best business you can build. Join the Spark community. It helps me.
That says it all. Thank you very much for your time and commitment to this particular session. I am super grateful, and I'm sure everybody feels the same way too. And make sure you join us next week on Friday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on another session where we talk about cash flow management in business. You don't want to miss this, just like this one. You know what to do. My name is Kidalo, and thank you very much for joining us today. And on behalf of the staff, have a lovely, lovely weekend. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dayo.